Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I have two individuals who claim credit for that saying. One is Sun Tzu, a Chinese military strategist. The other is Michael Corleone of the Godfather movies. Hi, I'm Charles Adrian O'Connor. I live in New York City in a housing community called Peter Creek Village, Stuyvesant town. When I was growing up, I was targeted by bullies. And in the past few years, there's been a huge anti-bullying movement going on in this country, and I've gotten very interested in it. In fact, I wrote a book several years ago entitled Charles, Is Your Head on Your Shoulders? That was a reprimand from a teacher, my third grade teacher, about something which I'm not going to go into detail about here. I've been observing the anti-bullying movement for several years. I'll share this observation with you. Just about every picture or photo I see, every video I watch, indicates that an incident has already happened and says the kids are supposed to react to it. This is a reactive approach. How about a more proactive approach? I mean, let's look at ways a kid could focus on not being a target anymore, or just not being a target in the first place. For one thing, don't look like you were in a world of your own someplace. Save daydreaming for a private time. Daydreaming is important, but it shouldn't be done in math class or at lunchtime in the cafeteria. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Also, if something happens, bullying incidents happen, take into account what time of the day, the week, the month, or the year it is. Is it for some major event, like a big test, like the SAT, or some big citywide test, or before Christmas or Easter? Is it before a school play or a big football game? Also, who's around? One time a kid acted aggressively towards me at school one day. That same day, later, about 4:30 in the afternoon, I met him in the supermarket. He was as sweet as you please. I was puzzled. I talked with my brother about this. He said, well, it's quite simple. He had no audience in the supermarket, did he? Nobody around he wanted to impress. Watch someone, if you can, when they're not actually interacting with anyone. If you could see them maybe on the street from a distance when they're on their way to or from school. Watch their demeanor, how they carry themselves. You can learn a lot about people when they're alone. The first line of defense is not martial arts or judo or karate or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or boxing punches. It's being alert. See what's going on around you. Who is around you? What are they doing? Who are they with? Now, never actually stare at someone openly. This can throw them off guard and can be disconcerting and annoying. Learn how to use your peripheral vision, that is the very edges of the range of your vision. Read the body language of the person you're observing. See how they carry themselves. Are they acting suspiciously or aggressively? Who's with them? There are areas that are more prone to trouble. The locker room, the corridor, the cafeteria, the school bus, etc. Areas that can be adult-free at times, or the school bus when usually the only adult on the vehicle is the driver, who is obviously focusing on getting you all to school safely. You probably don't want to hear this, but look in the mirror. Could you be a cause of the problem? Maybe at least partially, maybe 5%, 2%. Are you doing something that could be annoying to someone? Are you coming across as a victim, a target? Sometimes it's like people have a, not literally, figuratively, a sign on them which reads, "Pick on me." I was very guilty of this. I came to realize, maybe in junior high school, that I didn't have a sign on myself which read, "Pick on me." I had a neon billboard on me which read, "Pick on me," which could have been seen from outer space like the Great Wall of China and Interstate 95. An example of a literal sign is a report card with all A's. When many kids see that, they do magic. They don't see all A's. They see a sign which reads, "Pick on me." Look at any kid situation comedy on television. Isn't the smart kid always portrayed as geeky and nerdy? And they get mistreated by their peers. They never have a girlfriend or boyfriend. They're ostracized. The kids around them make fun of them, but they're also envious of them. And they use them once to their advantage. Are you a shy introvert? Do you keep to yourself? Do you play with other kids? Do you communicate? Do you make eye contact? How do you dress? Try to see yourself as others see you. If someone scolds a bully, say a bully shoves a kid around in the schoolyard and maybe the vice principal takes both kids into their office, they will probably say something to the bully like this: "Put yourself in your victim's place. How would you like somebody to mistreat you?" Well, the victim should put themselves in their bully's place. What do you think the bully sees when they see you? If you do interact and you actually play with other kids and socialize, how do you behave? Is your attitude positive? Are you quarrelsome? Do you look down on the kids around you? Do you reach out to other kids in a friendly way? Do you ever approach them? Do you wait for them to approach you? If a kid invites you over, do you reciprocate? Can you get friends to help you? If something should happen, can you get witnesses? Can you avoid some kids who are problems or problem areas? I did this myself quite a bit when I was a kid. I had a job delivering dry cleaning in the afternoons after school and on Saturdays. A lot of kids gave me a hard time, and I had to come up with ways to avoid them, chiefly because that was my approach and also because I had people's clothes with me. Can you change your route to and from school if there are people along the way who are a problem? Admit and face up to the fact that you were a target. This is painful and hard, but it is important and worth it. Can you talk to the kids you have a problem with? Keep enough of a physical distance between yourself and them in case they try to attack you. You can see what they do. And if you do this, try to look at all of the body of the kid you are talking with. While trying to make eye contact, watch his hands, his arms, and his hips. A self-defense expert who has video on YouTube says that a lot of aggressive body movement begins with the attacker's hips. It's the center of gravity, I guess. The element of surprise. If you can catch a bully off guard, this will give you a huge advantage. Can you go with your parents and visit the bully's home to try to talk things over and work out the situation? This depends heavily on what kind of knowledge you have of this kid. I do not recommend that you go to your bully's home unless you know something about this kid, or you go with your parents. You don't know who might be in that house. They might answer the door with a gun, and you would also be going onto private property. You should probably take one of your parents. I want to beat up people who say stuff like, "You need to stand up to bullies, they'll back right down. You need to stand up for yourself. Don't be a coward. You let people walk all over you. You need to be more assertive. Grow a spine. A boy may be told, grow a pair. No offense intended if you're a girl." That bully is going to push you until you push back. However, I will grant that this adage is frequently true. People who utter these phrases make standing up to bullies sound so easy. If it were that easy, bullying would not happen. My friend had 2 daughters. They started fighting and scuffling and wrestling as soon as babies can possibly do that. That would be about the age of a year old when a child starts to walk. Guess what he did when fights started? Nothing. Unless he was afraid one of the children would get injured, or if he knew that his own child had started the fight, in which case he punished his own child for starting the fight. His reasoning was the kids get picked on because a parent, grandparent, older sibling, whoever is in charge of the child at any time, intervened and stepped in and mediated. So that kid comes to think someone will always intervene. He figured his girls would never have it cross their minds to not fight back. They would just do it automatically. I regularly Google up anti-bullying news on the internet. When I check images and photographs, I will see plenty of photographs with a kid by themselves looking miserable, or photographs showing a kid in the foreground looking miserable with some kids in the background. And these kids are usually distorted by the photographer, so they are not seen clearly. And often 1 or 2 of them are pointing at the kid in the foreground. It's not a happy picture, but I just don't get bullying from this. Though I notice that in the popular definition of bullying, part of the definition is social exclusion or just being unfriendly. I don't include that with my definition. Also, if a kid commits suicide after a diet of being bullied, I hate hearing the bullies being called his killers. Let's take responsibility for our own actions. If you commit suicide, you're going to be the killer. That's reality. If you're contemplating suicide, please consider other options. Take self-defense lessons. Avoid these problem kids. Stay home and keep to yourself for a while. Heck, run away. Someone once said, "He who runs away will live to fight another day." Even if you run away, at least you'll still be alive later on, when you come up with a way to deal with the problem. You're going to die eventually anyway. Why rush things? A message for girls. I strongly recommend that you speak with a lady who has coped with being bullied. Gender is a big factor in bullying. Most bullying is intragender, i.e. one kid bullying a kid of their own gender, not a kid of the other gender. If you'd like to see my other video, go on to youtube.com and enter anti-bullying Stuyvesant town. That's Stuyvesant town, Town, at the search window. You can also enter my name, Charles O'Connor.